Yay, I'm back, at least for a little bit. How are we all doing? I'm so tired today. I thought I'd do a little bit of an update today, seeing as I haven't done any video recording in, what, a year? Probably a bit more than a year, but actually it's probably about 14 odd months or something. Was it before April last year? I did. Anyway, so, what's been going on? I won't go into too much detail. I'm probably not going to be doing a lot of updates on YouTube for probably till about February next year, so this might be a rare specialty time. I don't really know what I'm saying, I'm half asleep today. Okay, so let's start with endurance. Obviously I updated Asteria even. I updated Asteria and released that. I'm going to be doing another update coinciding with this video. It's not much, it just fixes a few minor bugs, so download the newer version and I will release it at the same time as this. I forgot I did that one. This ship looks so pretty now. Anyway, so what's going on with this? Well, basically very little. Everything here, all the sort of functionality is about the same. I've primarily been focusing on like, what do you call it, like structural stuff, brushwork, as opposed to actually adding entities and finishing off the interactions on the map, because there's still a lot of areas that need to be finished. Obviously after a discussion last year on basically how a civilian ship would work, I decided to ditch that idea simply because, well, it's a bit of a controversial subject really. Nobody really knows how, well, shall we say, the economy would work in Star Trek. Personally, I think it's a very communistic future. A lot of people would probably disagree. Gene Roddenberry was a very strong anti-capitalist. He did not believe in capitalism at all, and that is why he preached this future, beautiful futuristic world of his. And I will put a link in the description below sort of detailing why Star Trek is a communist future, but that's down to interpretation. Pretty controversial. Some people will be like, nah, it's not, damn commies and all that lot, but yeah, it basically is. But in order to stop that from being an issue with this map has now been reclassified as an official Federation Starfleet ship, which unfortunately required a bit of a redesign. Civilian ships are a bit different from Starfleet ships. Starfleet ships have very specific requirements when they're built. Obviously I don't design just a map that looks pretty, I design a ship, and because it's no longer a civilian ship, it has had some redesign work done to it because of certain protocols and safety features and whatnot that you get in the wondrous Star Trek universe. Well, primarily Starfleet protocols and crap like that. So basically, first thing you'll notice is I kept the door frame in just because I thought, memories. But there is only one access point onto the bridge now. You can't just walk from the mess hall in here because it's a much more military run ship. There are restricted areas, and yeah, this has been filled in, and yeah, you can't get in there. There is also a second door here, we'll get to that in a minute, but primarily the bridge is pretty much the same, not all that much going on that's different. And there's another reason why I kind of done this as well, but basically because the map is basically one big deck, all of the map's entities and brushwork were basically in a big line, so every time you opened a door stuff would start disappearing because there's a certain amount of brushwork and models and entities and stuff that the game engine can actually display and render simultaneously, and it kind of leaked through, so you would walk into the bridge, as soon as the door opened all the chairs, entities and everything would just disappear out of view, and then when the door shut they'd all reappear, and some of them wouldn't reappear, and it's because it splits its rendering into portal areas, which basically when you're in one area and you can't see into all the others, it doesn't actually render any of it, and then when you go into the next area it will render both. But the problem with such a long ship is that when, say, the door that was, well, this door wasn't here, but the other door opened up, it would render all the way back to engineering, all the way back to the cargo bays, and it would render the mess hall and the docking bay and all of that lot. So it was basically rendering the whole ship every time those doors opened, and it was happening all over the ship. So what I've had to do is do these kind of little like this here, these kind of little, I suppose you can call them like transfer points, so you can hop from one area of the deck to the other And because interestingly enough, if you open this and you look through, it only renders the stuff that is visible directly from this portal area, because you're looking through one portal area into another, so actually nothing behind there is actually being rendered. But when you step in here and open this door, it's all rendered. When you go back in here, only what's visible is rendered, so it actually, yeah, kind of solves that problem. So as a redesign, let's carry on with the redesign. So obviously we head back over here. We obviously have our weapons locker. I think that was there before. Well and good. And then our mess hall, which is now all patched in, and there's nothing else there, and it's quite neat and tidy, and yeah, it's alright, I suppose. It's alright. Not really much of a difference with the rest of it. I think sickbay is about the same. Oh, that isn't a button operated one, is it? There's a bit of a hole there. I'm going to have to fill that in. There's a hole down here that leads to space. I'll have to fill that in as well. Pretty basic sickbay. Or medbay. What's over here? This is the mess hall. Same as always. Both the quarters are the same as always. Engineering, as you can see, I can now see all the way back to the back door there. I said I wasn't happy with the engineering section, so I redesigned it. It actually went through about 6 redesigns, and this isn't finished. Some of the texture work needs doing, no entities in there, anything like that. I'm ditching the whole ejecting warp core thing because I want the entities for the navigational system, so I don't want to waste too much. The problem with the navigational system and the ejecting warp core is that you can't go to warp with the warp core ejected. So when you want to bring up the navigational system, you have to check if the warp core is ejected, as well as are you at warp, and as well as a load of other crap as well, and whether or not you can go to warp, and it's just complicated. It adds more entities. I'm much more interested in the navigational system than just ditching the warp core, and the new design of the warp core actually makes it hard to set up with sort of an ejection system anyway. Let's have a little look at engineering. So I kept the back in the end. I had actually emptied this entire space out, made it a complete void with just a chair, and I sat in that chair for about 6 hours. No, not that long, but just staring around, just going what would fit nicely in here. And I actually removed all of this, which was the standard engineer, and then brought it back because I decided that I wanted this across the back wall. But it's slightly offset in engineering. You've got, this is your warp core now under here. Well, that looks quite pretty. Anyway, I didn't realise I did that. So you can see that's your warp core. It's an offset warp core with, these are just reskinned Asteria textures. I'm going to change them a bit and make them look a little bit more pretty and a bit more custom. I'm probably going to have some panels that can be removed here, but that's your warp core. How you would eject that would be a pain in the arse, so I'm not going to bother doing it. You've got this kind, I like the fact that it's kind of like almost like a modern day sort of ship or something, where you have pipes going around and little walkways going over engine bits and stuff. It's kind of like that, a very simplistic engine room instead of something with a big lava lamp glowing in the middle. It's something a little bit different. We've got some nice lighty things there. That's spelled backwards, don't worry about that, but that's kind of just some details and engineering deuterium pods and stuff. And then we've got to do something with that bit of the ceiling. Some nice pipes, nice sort of Voyager style engineering station. And yeah, I think it works a lot better, primarily because you have that direct route, so you can just run straight over, or you can run around the back, or you can go down the steps here, and you know, 3 ways to get past the warp core. It makes evacuations easier if you need to evacuate, say, the rear section, so you're not coming in and going around a load of railings and it's all tight quarters and stuff. You can literally just go in a straight line, which makes navigating from the front to the back a lot easier, and vice versa. These are just yeah, these are still just little Jeffries tubes with engineering areas that you can work on. Nothing too fancy. And then we go to the aft part of the ship, which has changed the most. Obviously, as I said, I had to redesign to make it a Starfleet ship. Now, originally the ship had limited crew capacity, blah 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 blah. Starfleet ships, pretty much all of them, even the tiny little shoal pods you saw in Next Generation, they have enough space for passengers. Everything basically has to be able to take passengers, personnel transfer, stuff like that. This is now a Starfleet-run transport and freighter ship, so it needs to have the facilities to house personnel. So if you wanted to go to a colony and resupply it with scientists and other people and groundskeeper Willie or whatever, and you wanted to stick him on a planet somewhere, you could do so, because every Starfleet ship, even starships, the Enterprise, whatever, they all need to be capable of carrying people from one location to another or doing emergency evacuations. So the first thing you notice is you walk through here and you have a blank wall. Each of these two sections here represent two kind of like habitation pods that have independent life support, so you can shut one of them down and just have the walkway from the other one to access the cargo bays at the back. And basically they're kind of designed as independent, so you can shut them down when you're not using them, but they are literally just personnel areas for carrying people. Again, we have these kind of little sections that break it up, slightly different corridor layout, and of course we have, you can't actually get to the airlocks here, but you have two new airlocks either side, and this is where your passengers would come on. And the quarters approach, this room in here and the amount of space is probably traditional quarters, you could fit 4 people in there, but I got a bit of inspiration from a few areas. I went with a pod setup, like those Chinese hotel pod things, so you can actually get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, a total of 16 people in a room designed for 4. You know, I mean, I suppose you could probably get about 6 people in here with beds if you wanted to. But yeah, 16 people is better than 6. That's an extra 10 people, and these pods are pretty cool. I like them. You can sort of crawl inside. You've got a little bed, you've got a little console there, nice sort of padded back wall bits, pretty boring ceiling, and then you've got some lights. That's meant to be a mirror, but obviously I don't do mirrors because it eats up memory. Nice little independent locker and some little things, so you could sit in here. Imagine shutting these. They don't shut because there's 16 and there's 2 of them, so that's what 32 sets of times 2, 64 door entities that would be needed to actually close all of this up, and I ain't doing that. That's a waste of entities. I've got other stuff for them, but yeah, you could imagine closing them in here, being quite comfortable. We've got little ladder things here, which for some reason don't actually work. It's really weird. There is a ladder brush there, but it doesn't actually work. I don't know if you can hear the ladder effect, but you can't actually climb up. But you can actually just jump up, so it's not too bad. Perfectly scaled. It's all right. And so that's one side there. There is potentially going to be some stuff on these back walls because I don't like clear walls, and I have an idea for this, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Opposite here you have a independent like little mess hall area. This is just designed for these people because they're not meant to access the front part of the ship, these passengers. They're not meant to go anywhere near the bridge or through the engineering section. They are limited to here, so everything they need are on these 2 port and starboard side modules. So they have somewhere to sit, somewhere to read, somewhere to eat food and have replicators, some plants, a water fountain-y sort of thing. All pretty simple stuff. System analysis. So then we come through here, and this is kind of the continuation. This is kind of where it came out beforehand, and it's been blocked off and moved back, and these modules added in. Down this side it's exactly the same. Let's do red alerts. You can see all the lights blinking. Fairly boring, fairly simple. And obviously in this side you've got another load of pods here, which is another 16 which you can get in, and so that's pretty good really. That's not bad at all. There's 32 crew members that you could just stuff in the back here and take them on a little trip somewhere, so that's pretty good. But they're not crew quarters, they're passenger quarters, lockers, standard stuff. But I got the idea primarily from anyone who's played Deus Ex Human Revolution. When you go to China or Hong Kong, or well, yeah, it's China, but you go to like the lower levels of Shanghai, or I don't know what the hell it is, I haven't played it in ages, and you go to one of these little pod places where you find a guy who's quite important for a bit and gets shot or something, I don't know, and I was really interested by the concept. I thought it was really cool, and then I looked up these Chinese pod things and thought they actually look really funky. I mean, I wouldn't mind sleeping in one if it was like this, little computer access. You know, you wouldn't want to live in it, but for a short distance it's actually quite cosy. It's got everything you need in a little box. It's like being locked in a cupboard under the stairs like Harry Potter, but much better. I actually had a friend, well, my brother had a friend that I also knew, so not really my friend, but a friend of a brother. But anyway, my brother's friend who actually lived in a cupboard under the stairs. What fun, eh? What fun. I actually knew someone who did that. It's not all in fiction, people. Anyway, so what I was on about with like the back things here is when you go into Deus Ex Human Revolution, I obviously had a good look around it and actually had a look at all the little pods that they were doing and stuff like that, and how they set everything up. And I noticed that they had like vending machines. So I was like, okay, that could be pretty cool, having like something that could vend, that fill in these gaps. And I looked over their vending machines. You got, yeah, coffee, tea, snacks, and they've actually got a vending machine which makes no sense. They've got a vending machine for underwear, right? So you actually have an underwear vending machine, which I just thought, well, you know, what's the point in that? Because, okay, imagine that it was originally meant to be a hotel, but this is the interesting thing. The actual textures that they use, it's real. It's a real vending machine in China, because I actually typed in online going, okay, I don't understand like the logic behind it. Why would you have that? You know, if you were going to a hotel, say, wouldn't you be bringing your clothes with you? I mean, vending machines, snacks, stuff like that, they're designed for impulse buyers. So, you know, you walk past it and go, oh, there's a Twix in there, I'll have that. And you buy a Twix, or you buy a can of Coke, or, I don't know, in some places probably marijuana and, I don't know, fucking dildos. But it's designed for impulse buyers, you know, it's not designed for someone, you know, you'd have to be... When are you going to forget your underwear? Oh dear, I forgot to put my underwear on today. Let's get this from a vending machine. And even if you're staying in a hotel, I mean, when are you going to say, what's your target sort of consumer? You know, it's completely ridiculous, and it's real. It's a real thing in China. When I was looking at these pods, and also I typed it in, just going, why is there a fucking underwear vending machine? And it's a real thing in China. I will put up a picture of it in game now, and I will put up an actual photograph of the actual thing in which it's based on. It is a real thing. What's your target consumer? Do people go to hotels and go, is it a normal thing in China? You go to a hotel and go, don't have to take any underwear, they've got vending machines. It's just not normal. It's not for impulse buys. You know, when are you impulsively going to want to buy a pair of boxers? I just don't understand it. So what I'm actually thinking of doing with that, with like a little callback, is I might actually put vending machines in these gaps, and I might do one of them as the exact same vending machine, just as a little joke. Maybe do the prices in, I don't know, gold press latinum or something, or just buttons, I don't know. But yeah, just pop it in there for a bit of fun. And then it made me think that maybe I should do, like, I've got enough room for 4, one there on the port side, and then on the starboard side doing 2 more. If I was to say, come up with a vending machine idea, or a dispenser, not necessarily a vending machine that you put money into, but a dispenser, who, you know, put it in the comments. Put a comment, idea for something to be dispensed. It can be Captain Picard bald caps or something, so everyone can walk around with a bald cap on it. Whatever you want, bat left dispensers, whatever you could possibly want, and I will, the best ones I will put here. I will actually make either, I'll need at least 1, but if there are 3 really good ones that I like, I will do 3 different vending machines, and then I'll get to I will put a little, there's obviously a Cardassian station in this map, and there's a bit of one, and you'll see something a bit later on, but there's basically, in Odo's office, you have like a list of people who are wanted. So I will put you on that list of wanted people. Just send me like an avatar if you're a serial role player and you've got like a picture of your character or whatnot, send that to me, and I'll put him on there. Or if you just want a random blacked out guy like the mystery man or something, I'll just put your name on it, make it quite visible, and then I'll put you in there as a little reward for a good idea. So yeah, they're little interactive competition thingy. Who can come up with the most obscure, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be something wrong, but just like a dispenser, like not something like obscure or stupid, but anything, you know, vending machine. The ones that I like the ideas of most will win that, and if there are 3 good ones, you get to be on Odo's little display. Well, it's not Odo's display, but it's similar to on the sort of wanted list. So that's that bit there. Another airlock, blinky lights, blinky. And then we have a locker room, slightly different from the other side. You'd obviously transfer between one and the other. And this contains, this can have towels. Do you need towels on a sonic shower? I suppose so. These should really be sinks. We have pretty sonic showers. They're quite accurate, actually. I looked up a Voyager episode, and that's apparently what they are. So, no shower head, you just stand in there and dirt comes off you. It's really stupid. I would much prefer to have a traditional shower, but there we go. There we are. and that's meant to be a mirror. You can see kind of that it's got like the reflection, and that's kind of, you see the little benches and stuff, but as I said, I don't like putting mirrors in it. So that pretty much covers that bit, which is relatively simple. So then we head to the back, set extension here, and to the left here we've obviously got cargo bay 1. This is where you're going to be able to transport up supplies and stuff from the 3 locations you can visit, and then of course we've got cargo bay 2 on the other side. Isn't that all relatively spiffing? Not really much going on, but and that pretty much covers the ship's redesign. So primarily areas for personnel and making things more secure. So those personnel would not come up this end. They're not going to be coming up anywhere near here. They're not going to be coming through here. They're not going to be visiting the front. I mean, I suppose you could escort them up here if one was sick or something, needed to go to the medical bay, or if there was a problem with the replicators, invite them in here. But you would essentially kind of block off their access to the front part of the ship. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the locations. Now, most of the locations are pretty much the same. There are a few subtle differences. Let's have a look, see here. So the first one, I think, is the Federation station. Starfleet station.
Cycle complete.
Yeah. Doesn't even have any sounds anymore. This hasn't changed at all, I don't think. So you've got your set extension, looks fairly pretty. I'll probably do like against this wall maybe, or maybe in here. I'll do another wanted thing, so you've with like the winners people on it and other people on it. So like a wanted person screen there. So God, my throat is bad today. So yeah, I might do it here and in the Cardassian area, which would be pretty good. Do a Federation version. That's going to be the cargo bay, or access to the cargo bay. Yeah, it's alright, hasn't really changed at all. You need airlock controls here. That's pretty simple, hasn't really changed much. The Skedar should be number 4.
Airlock.
Oh, I didn't do the red alert lights on that one. And I haven't got the new railing ends.
Cycle complete.
So the Skedar ends changed slightly, a little bit more. Yeah, different I suppose. I've actually moved the airlock to the opposite side, so this is the little room with little Skedar models on it. Wow. And all the doors are button controlled like the NX-01. And then we got some kind of... That's actually... I used the wrong font for that. That looks like runes from Skyrim. Yeah, you can see the Oblivion symbol. Oops. That's going to be a door that's going to be locked. This area now, instead of having like the little Skedar soldier people here, it's just kind of a big open area, and I'll probably sort that out a little bit. Sort of texture misalignment there. And then they've moved up here, so I'll sort that out a little bit, just because I wanted, you know, the sort of lengthy areas and sideways to kind of go straight as opposed to sticking out, because obviously the ship would be over there, and if that set extension was here like it used to be, it would be digging into the side of the ship, so I had to move that. In here it's changed a lot. This obviously used to be where the airlock was, and you would come in. This is now the cargo bay, where you beam your cargo up. Without looking in the right direction where the majority of the cargo bay is, and that door just shut on its own, don't worry about it. This, I'm not going to show off this room because it's going to be full of Easter eggs. Every single bit of cargo, because this is obviously a ship design species from another game. Every single piece of cargo in this cargo bay is going to be, well, maybe not every single piece, but there's going to be a ton load of cargo in here, which is actually going to be from other games. Loads of other games. And there's also going to be biological sample containers that are going to contain like bits of aliens from other games, and it can be all sorts of games from pretty much anything. There could be a bit of Star Wars in there, there could be a bit of, I'm trying to think of space games, Mass Effect in there could be all sorts of different space games where you have some kind of alien ship. Any game with an alien ship, there might be an artifact from it in here. But to give you a little hint, we all know what that's from. So that's just one of the many artifacts that if I turned around would be in this room, but as it's not finished, I don't quite want to show off that room yet. So that's going to be full of all sorts of different bits and pieces. I'm sure you can guess what that's from. I went on a massive model hunt, recreated some models or ripped some models from games. And then the last one will be something you've never seen before, I don't believe.
Airlock. Cycling.
Yeah,
Please
that's what's
wait.
mine. I've got to move that back. So only have a curse
Cycle
in here because they
complete.
would have been affected too. Don't worry about it. Welcome to our Cardassian style station. A bit too much work went into this, really. It's the problem with Deep Space Nine interiors is that they didn't have as much of them because of the promenade thing was where everyone did their walking scenes where they walked around chatting. So they didn't have many corridors and sort of off main locations. It was the promenade, ops, and that was about it. You had like 2 little segments of corridors, and the problem is that they used so much casting, like these sort of traditional Borgie-like things. But what were they from? They were like some kind of piece of farm equipment or something. You could actually buy them in like reels. But yeah, they basically used like pre-casted plastic stuff and then fibre. They used what was it? Glassy fibrey crap. Fiberglass, that's it. They made like fiberglass castings and stuff, kind of like the Borg stuff. And it's actually quite difficult to work out what the shape is. That's a rough approximation of it, but it's very difficult to actually work out what the shape of the plastic was, or the fiberglass was. And especially in like the ceilings, it's got so much detail and so much stuff that obstructs views of the corridors. That it's one of the hardest. It's harder than Voyager. It's harder than the NX-01. Harder than any of the other stuff ever seen on screen. It's probably the hardest thing to make accurate because you just cannot see anything, and it's got so many little details and castings and stuff that making it 100% accurate could probably take me about 3 years. So I decided to just kind of approximate based on a load of different sources, and it looks alright. I mean, I've got to stick a door in there and stuff, and a lot of it's done with pre-rendered stuff. Like, that isn't actually sticky outy, that's just pre-rendered in Blender. And I just done a load of pre-rendered textures. It's the lift. It's not all that amazing, I suppose. You just need to have see-through-y bits with... Are those going to be the things with lights going up and down them? No, I'm going to do it through there, so as the lift goes down. I'm trying to tactfully look away because there isn't actually a lift shaft here, and the doors don't work. Aha! Which brings us to our lower level. So like these ceilings aren't overly accurate. I kind of had to bodge them together. You're not actually going to be able to access this bit of corridor because, as you can see, set extension, but you're only going to be able to go straight. But it does kind of... I don't like that set extension. I'm going to have a little look at it. But, you know, it kind of looks like a Cardassian corridor. It's not overly accurate. Yeah, I'd probably say accuracy probably about 25% accurate. It's very, very inaccurate in that case. Probably one of the most inaccurate things I've done, but it's so difficult to get it accurate that, nah. These are a little bit better, but there's a lot of stuff missing here as well. And down the end here, you're going to have your cargo bay. And if I can do a clip into this, because these aren't doors yet, you can see that this is kind of an approximation of Odo's office sort of thing. I'm going to change the console stuff at the back. I'm just ripping DS9 the fallen textures that I've enhanced a bit and sticking them there temporarily. I did do that quite a lot because it was actually quite accurate. That texture work wasn't bad, and then I just replaced it all with mine. But these missing texture things here, these are going to be the wanted person signs that are... If you can come up with good vending machine ideas, I'll put your little avatar and things on there as a wanted person. Won't that be jolly good fun? And there's actually going to be 2 offices, one this side and one the opposite side, because basically there's going to be one side with... I'm going to set up mannequins in like the chairs of these offices to act as like people contacts to organise cargo transfers and stuff. And on one side I'm going to have a Cardassian, and on the other side I'm going to have a Bajoran. That way you can have it's either Deep Space Nine or a Cardassian station. So you can make your decision and go in. This one will probably be Bajoran and the other one will be Cardassian. So you'll be able to go in and speak to the mannequin, which will just be a cut-out mannequin guy sat in a chair, and do your bits and pieces, and then you'll be able to go into the cargo bay, which will be over here, and beam your cargo up and whatnot. So, yeah. that's pretty much it. It is still being worked on, but due to certain time constraints at the moment and certain problems, it's not exactly a priority at the moment. I am trying to get through it, but it's one of those things, I'm afraid. I'm not going to be able to do much with that. Yeah, so if you have ideas for vending machines, do a comment. Put it in a comment, and if you are lucky, I will send you a personal message and get you to send me like some avatar information or a name, like a serial roleplay character or whatever you want. You can send me a picture of whatever you want, as long as it's not obviously something stupid. And then is 5 back home? No, 1's back home.
Airlock. Cycling.
And yeah, basically what will happen is I'll put you on there just as a little thing for a good idea. There we go. In regards to Asteria, as I said, I'm going to do an update, just update the pack a little bit corresponding with this video. So if you want to, I know some people have been having, well, mainly 1 or 2 people have been having problems using the shuttle version of Asteria. I think it might be not loading because when you first load into Asteria, it activates a few entities that toggle on a few things and set up a few things, like a map setup. The first person who spawns triggers it, and some of those entities weren't directed at anything anymore because obviously the shuttle version removes all the damage systems. So yeah, where was I? There's one other thing. Is it worth showing off, or is it not worth showing off? Alongside Asteria, I'm going to try and do like some few extra updates with Asteria, regular updates, now that it's kind of based on, well, it's kind of released. It's got like a base, a foundation, so I can kind of add to it, take stuff out, put stuff in, and do as many Asteria maps as I want to give it different functionality and stuff. And some of them is just to kind of open it up a little bit, and one of the ones I'm thinking of doing
Station Asteria
is this one. Yep, it is a Borgified Asteria. Just playing with it at the moment, doing some texture work. These are actually textures from EF2, which I'll have to change out for obvious reasons. Number 1, they're really crap quality, and number 2, meh. I prefer the look of them to like the standard ones, or even the realistic ones. I like the fact that they're more metallic-y, which is great fun. My own little L cars. But yeah, we've got a nice little Borg station appearing. Because what I'll probably do with this one is I'll make it so that there are transporter rooms on the lower deck. On the shuttle bay, you can only access half the shuttle bay in the full version of Asteria, and then the versions released, that shuttle deck actually has 2 shuttle bays and some transporter rooms and stuff. So basically, I'll probably have it so that you're held up down the bottom, and the top few decks have been inhabited by the Borg, so maybe you can use that for a particular scenario or something if it suits. And you've got to go back, you've got to try and take back the ship, or the station. So that could be a fun idea. I'm just playing with it at the moment. I mean, it looks alright, I suppose. Doesn't look too bad. I'll stick some Borg mannequins in here and just make it look a little bit more interesting. Old Borgified Asteria. Constant red lights, can't turn off the red alert because it's so bad. The Borg are here. Yeah, and obviously I want to finish the runabout as well at some point in the future. Do a whole runabout, but I want to do again multiple maps of the runabout with different mission modules. So different like science-y ones and personnel transfer-y ones. So you'd have about 10 different runabout maps as a pack, with different middle bits and maybe some planets to explore and stuff. All sorts of things, but I want to get Asteria Pack done first, which is basically endurance. Once endurance is done and Asteria has reached its point where it's fairly sort of compatible and stable, and I'm not getting any complaints. I mean, I haven't had any bugs reported, but then it's kind of a dying community really, isn't it? There aren't many people playing it. I did notice I do have a tendency to stalk serial roleplay sites and stuff and have a little look around and see who's playing it and stalk their server information. It has been actively played a few times, but it's kind of been pushed into the background recently, obviously, because people write serial roleplays, they have many episodes to go through, and Asteria wasn't part of it, so maybe in the future they will choose to use the map or even base a serial roleplay on it. It is kind of built with a serial roleplay in mind, as it even comes with a complete story set of like a backstory for it, for sort of an idea. So it is kind of built for that purpose, and that's why I'd do maps like this with just Borg stuff and one of them, and then maybe another one it's just all damaged where it's taking some combat damage. Obviously you lose the functionality of deployable shuttles and damage reports and stuff, but it's primarily just redresses the same set so you can have different things. And that all came from my Chronos TARDIS thing, where basically I wanted to be able to go from one map to another showing you the locations, but I didn't want to have to type in each map name. And then that gave me the idea of having the exact same interior but on 10 different maps, and then that gave me the idea, well, why don't I just split the functionality of Asteria into about 3 different maps? And then that gave me the idea of why don't I just keep releasing Asteria maps with different updates so you can have all sorts of different things for serial role players. So this is a Borg one, you'll have a damaged one, you'll have one where you've only got one deck and then you've got a ship docked with it, or, you know, I can just keep adding to it for serial roleplay purposes. So if you have any ideas for stuff to add for it, if you are writing a serial roleplay for Asteria or whatnot, feel free to drop a comment and let me know what sort of things you'd like in it, because I can always just strip it of functionality. It's a small map, stick a load of stuff in it and ship it back out to you. So now the map's established with its core functionality, it's not like I'm going to be adding anything complex to it. In fact, I'll be taking stuff out so it's easier to release now it's finished. So I could sort of every 6 months, if I wanted to, release an updated Asteria map with a different theme. So if it's something you're interested in, same with Endurance as well, let me know. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this little update video. It's probably a bit long, but it's been a while. Sorry there haven't been many updates. Probably aren't going to be many updates until, like I said, next February. Got a lot on my plate at the moment. Yeah, joys. So if you have any ideas for vending machines, comment. And then I'll get back to you with a personal message if I think that your idea is very, very good. What else is there? Any ideas for like Asteria maps or stuff, tweaks you'd like to see done to it for particular themes, particular episodes, serial roleplays, stuff that you could find particularly useful, functionality. If I stripped out all the functionality and put something else in it, what would you like to see? And just, yeah, have fun. Thanks for watching.